My friends, it just keeps happening. Yes, as the world turns, so do gamers turncoat on their friends by splicing speedruns. But honestly, as much as what we're about to get into is really an interesting case of cheating in speedrunning, it's important to remember that there are human beings on all sides of the situation here. As such, I will be anonymizing the name of the cheating party to avoid any ill will going their way, focusing on celebrating the achievements of the other wave race runners who have set amazing records in their own right, and exploring the lessons we can take away from a situation like this. In particular, the wave race community did not levy a permaban on the cheating party, but what I find to be a much more reasonable consequence instead. So let's get into it.
Power! That's great! A new record!
So this story begins with a wave race player by the name of Billy Hill, who was really good at Wave Race Blue Storm, the GameCube entry into the Wave Race series. Not to get sidetracked already, but come on, Nintendo, where the heck are the wave races for Wii, Wii U, and Switch? Billy Hill was so good, in fact, that he had a complete sweep on all Wave Race Blue Storm records. That's a total of 36 records, 18 courses with 3-lap and fast lap records. That's insanely impressive regardless of the game or competition. And naturally, Billy was looking to compete even more in the epic Wave Race series. Wave Race 64 was attractive because there's a ton of deep competition in that game. ShibiPod, the long-reigning master of Wave Race 64, has the majority of world records in both the time trial modes and the full game or championship modes, which would be like seeing how fast you could complete, say, the Mushroom Cup or Star Cup in Mario Kart 64. Dr. Fish is another top talent in Wave Race 64 who is particularly good at the reverse courses, holding the record in the championship reverse category, as well as 3 reverse 3-lap records.
Yes! I got a 107! All untied world record.
And many viewers of this channel will be familiar with Ilu and his legendary records in GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. But Ilu also had an epic grind on Wave Race 64's Drake Lake, playing for literally 10 years on and off and hundreds of hours to get a long-fabled 110 on the course. He finally succeeded, barely, in 2018 with a 110.996, which stands as the record today, and is something Ilu considers one of his absolute best speed game world records ever, which is saying a lot from a guy who has such an illustrious speed gaming career. And since I mentioned all the other single-level record holders, I'd be remiss not to mention Game's very impressive record on Reverse Drake Lake 3-lap, toppling all of Ilu, Dr. Fish, and ShibiPod to notch the score. So you can see Wave Race 64 has a very healthy and storied competitive scene. And naturally, Billy Hill would migrate over to the game to show off these sick Wave Race skills. And those skills would transfer pretty well, with Billy eventually getting a number of world records in the full game categories. Notably, a 51.04 in the All Championships category, which beat ShibiPod's previous record by 7 seconds, and a 12.54 on the Championship Expert category, which would beat ShibiPod's record there by 2 seconds. You can see in this comparison of Billy and Shibi's in-game times from their All Championships runs that they were pretty much always within a second or two of each other, showing just how close the competition can be at the highest level of Wave Race. But there's a problem, because while they were pretty close on almost all the races, Shibi definitely had the edge, with most of his runs being slightly faster than those of Billy. So how was Billy's All Championships run 7 seconds ahead of Shibi's? And looking at the individual course times between their two Championship Expert runs, we see a similar trend. Shibi beat Billy on 6 of the 8 courses, and was only a couple of tenths behind on the 2 others. So how was Billy's real time 2 seconds faster? Could he have been mashing the menus and the loading zones that much quicker than Shibipod? Well, there is another obvious answer. And after about a week of carefully going over everything to make sure they had their ducks in a row, the Wave Race moderators confirmed and revealed their suspicions. Yes, Billy Hill's full game championship runs were spliced. You see, basically any time the game fades to black, and there are a lot of these transitions between every course and more, Billy would splice out a frame or two, a couple frames here, a couple frames there, until just enough time was shaved for it to appear to be the world record. Yeah, pretty remarkable, and also pretty obvious. There was no way this wasn't going to get caught out eventually, if not pretty quickly. You can see when these transitional frames are compared in Audacity to those of Dr. Fish, yes, you get the obvious tell. Billy's speedruns were indeed spliced. The moderators announced that all of Billy's runs were to be removed from the speedrun.com leaderboards for not just Wave Race 64, but all Wave Race series games, including the full sweep of Wave Race Blue Storm. Billy would be banned for a period of 2 years, at which time the ban could be appealed. And not only that, but all of the records Billy had ever achieved would be wiped clean. Thus, even if the appeal in 2 years is successful, Billy would be starting over from scratch. This means that all 36 of those Blue Storm records were as though they never happened. And now another runner, the Androgyne, has nearly a clean sweep in that game, with a few others sprinkled in here and there. The crazy thing about this all is that all of Billy's 3-lap and 1-lap records, the single course stuff, there's pretty much no possible way those are fake. You can't splice runs in the middle of a race with the big timer in the corner of the screen counting milliseconds. It's just impossible to pull off. The splices wouldn't match up. There's no doubt in my mind that Billy's single level times, including the Blue Storm sweep, were absolutely legitimate. Billy's clearly an incredibly talented wave racer and could compete with Shibipod at nearly every twist and turn of the game. There was no need to cheat. There never is, but usually you see cheating in players who are good, but not quite at the absolute top tier. The top tier runners don't need to splice, it's the ones just a step down who are driven to cheat because the gap between them and first place feels insurmountable. But for Billy, it seems like that gap was so small and could easily have been overcome with just a little more time and hard work. But hey, it's easy to say that now, isn't it? Now, I don't know about you, but I think a 2-year ban for this is very reasonable. I don't think I've ever heard of someone getting caught cheating in speedrunning, coming back years later and getting caught for cheating again. Speedrunners do usually tend to learn these lessons. So I do think 2 years off fits the offense and will get the point across. And I commend the Wave Race moderators and community for getting this right. Billy made a bad choice. The wrong choice to splice speedruns and cheat for that world record to get a little bit easier. But I truly don't believe that the correct response is condemnation to a life of eternal suffering and revocation of all speedrunning privileges. I try to empathize with Billy. We've all made bad choices in one way or another, and I hope that we will see a comeback in 2 years, having learned from this whole situation and working towards betterment. Ultimately, rehabilitation should always be the goal after any misdeed, and it would be epic to see Billy come back in 2 years, resetting all of the Wave Race Blue Storm records that have been removed. Legitimately, of course. But at the same time, we should celebrate the amazing records set by all the other Wave Race gamers, and hopefully we'll continue to see even more epic Wave Race moments over the next 2 years and beyond. Maybe we'll see someone step up and replace all of the missing records from Wave Race Blue Storm. Or maybe we'll see someone spend another 100 hours trying to best Elu's 110.996 on Drake Lake. Or who knows, perhaps some prodigy will come along and finally give ShibiPod's full game records a run for their money. It's a cool game with a good deal of record-setting history, so I'm glad to have shared at least some of it, if even under these circumstances. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this story about Wave Race, and I hope we can all take something away from this story and move forward for the better. Wishing you all the best in health and happiness. Hope you're having a great summer or winter depending where you are. Stay true, and I'll see you in the next stream or video.